let's get started. My name is Mush. I'm the strategic advisor for Catalan, and I also represent KMS Technology, which is a worldwide provider of testing services and consulting services. So, talking about the key drivers to the specific growth and challenges that we face, it boils down to something very basic, right? If you think about just the ease of access that each one of us across the globe have to a smartphone, to the internet, and definitely to the different mobiles. It's nothing out of the ordinary that shows how and why mobile adoption and app development has gained popularity, right? If you just look at some of the data from Statista, you will see that just trending to the number of smartphone users currently has already passed 3 billion, and that is forecasted to grow by several hundred million more, reaching almost 4 billion, quite honestly, by next year, which is just amazing in terms of the rate of growth. The other interesting tidbit here is looking at just the overall internet traffic. Mobile phones are really on the higher side now, beating out all other types of connections, by 52.2% being the mode of internet access through mobile phones. Another interesting fact is in 2018, the typical app revenue globally for mobile developers was close to 365 billion, and now it's projected to almost more than double in the next few years, touching almost 935 billion by 2023. And then just last year, the number of mobile app downloads was close to about 200 billion, which was actually an increase of more than 45% just from a few years ago. So, the net of all of this is just the overall adoption of and access to smartphones and the use over the internet has created this intense flux of additional opportunities for developers to actually build more applications. So obviously, from a testing perspective, right, that does pose a challenge. I'm sure most, if not all of us attending this webinar face these challenges on a pretty consistent basis, right? And the one sort of silver lining to this is we are not alone in this, right? It's a global uh, uh, effect, right? So the data we have on the screen now sort of shows us over the last 5 years what were some of the top challenges that the testing was facing when it comes to mobiles, right? And mobiles really includes wearables and includes social and traditional applications. If you were to look towards the left side of this slide, the top four challenges we faced was, as testers, we don't have enough time to test, right? I know how many times I've had to have those discussions with the product owners, with the development team to say, hey, guys, we definitely need more time to make sure we are raising our confidence in the quality. There's been ways and discussions where, as a tester, I felt we don't necessarily have the right tools to test the mobile apps with, or don't have the right testing process or the methodology in place. And then also another interesting challenge that seems to, over the past few years, drop some thanks to solutions like Perfecto Mobile and others, where we don't have in-house testing environments dedicated to help us support testing. Another interesting part from this chart that you can see is the time aspect, the tool set selection, still continue to trend pretty high up there, where almost half of us continue to feel that we don't have those abilities just yet, while access to the methodology as well as environments has the challenge factor has dropped some, but it still continues on. So, looking at just those four, let's take a deeper dive into, why those continue to be challenges that us as testers face. By the way, this information was just pulled out of the latest copy of the World Quality Report. If you guys have not seen that report, I would highly encourage you to search for it and download it. Usually, sites offer it for free. It's definitely a great read for just understanding the overall landscape of the industry. So looking at the obvious highest and most popular challenge that we face, right, which is how do we what can we do to have more time to test, right? So if you think about the root cause of why that is, right, essentially uh, the because of the global phenomena of having access to the internet and being able to build an app in your garage or in a small room, and then be able to get it out there for people to use, right? That sort of created a global competition that was not there before. And what that's done is organizations and developers are now competing to get their app into the market as soon as possible, and as early in the consumer's hand, so that way they don't miss the boat of opportunity, right? So what that's done is it's put a lot of pressure for time in the testing perspective to get that application out to production ASAP, right? Uh, Organizations, because of that, don't have necessarily the time to integrate the new tests needed to test the changes in the features or the new features that get introduced into their existing test cycles, and as a result have less time really to test this new code as well as develop tests that can be automated and push that in time to meet the stringent or high pressure timelines to get the product out. Uh, the other reasons for this also usually is tied to the complexity of the overall mobile environment, right? Obviously, as you guys know, with uh, uh, mobiles, uh, it is not not a lot of organizations are mobile only or mobile first, right? There's a combination of mobile support to traditional web applications, and because of those combinations, having the complexity of uh, allocating enough time to write stable tests that allow you to run across different mobile platforms, that's always been a challenge as well, and it continues to be a challenge. And then finally, trying to keep the competitive edge, most organizations or most app developers want to continuously add and improve their existing features, add new capabilities into their product. And again, because it's a global competition, they want to get their features out first or sooner in the hands of their end users or consumers, right? And that sort of puts an extra burden on us as testers to minimize the overall execution cycle length, right? Um, which really, translates as writing more and more tests in less and less time, right? Also, with keeping in mind the similar concepts, right? You now have so many different mobile device providers. You have new operating features coming out all the time, new features within different platforms coming out all of the time. So the net and net, all of this, in order for me to make sure that the app I am testing constraints and uses and it works as expected across all of these multiple platforms, that's just a snowball getting bigger and bigger, and putting more pressure on us to test. Looking at the second and third item there, which is basically, as testers, the challenges of not having the right tools or the right process or the methodology in place, right? One of the key root causes for that sort of challenge is, first off, everybody and anybody is making automation tools, right? As engineers, I know we are always interested in learning about new tools that are either offered to us on a paid or a trial version. Either they come out as a paid version, and we get bought in with great marketing to actually purchase them. If there's a native app support test tool, adding that in, and just having so many options available in the marketplace right now does give us the problem of saying maybe we didn't do our due diligence to actually pick the right tool, and we struggle with getting that right tool that allows us to do what we need to do for our application testing. The other aspect also is, if you look at just the automation tool stack, there are times when that tool stack isn't as capable with the organization we work for, which causes the introductions of several inefficiencies and slowdowns, right? If it's not, if the tool isn't stacked to sort of meet the skill set of your individual team members, that increases or adds further to these inefficiencies. And the net and net impact of all of that is, given the time constraints, again, that sort of negatively impacts the overall confidence of quality for the product that we are testing. And then finally, combining the tool selection process, there's also a lot of different methodologies that are in place, right? Some teams want to do ATDD, some teams want to do BDD, some teams want to have their own flavor of agile. Over the years, I've heard Scrumfall, Scrumban, Kanban, all of those mixtures that come in. So being able to pick a tool that also aligns with the methodology that your team is focusing on and uses sort of adds to this complexity. Finally, if you also look at another key challenge that a lot of us face, which is not having enough devices or testing environments, right? One of the key reasons for that is, just as I was talking about earlier, just the amount of devices, their resolutions, the different providers, their flavor of the OS, new upgrades coming in all the time, just having so many different combinations, especially if these are handed out to consumers worldwide, right? Just the exhaustive combinations that may exist are just tiring, right? In addition to that, a lot of teams may still be using physical devices that are shared among the group. And as you guys know, given the times we are in now, unfortunately, where everybody is either working from home or remotely, that puts even more pressure into having the ability to even share a device, right? What if I walked away with one of the older iPhones that my teammate now wants to check, but or test on, and unfortunately, we live several hundred miles apart, right? Or 20 miles apart, but can't actually get physical access to that, right? In addition to that, you can blow that out and say, hey, what happens when we work in different time zones and different continents, right? Which is with a international distributed team, that's also very possible, right? That actually causes more costs for your organization to now have to buy multiple devices of the same type and combination, just so that way it's easily placed across the different teams all around the globe. And then finally, just these different combinations, right? With the different OS versions, the upgrades coming in, the total count of permutations is just so intimidating. What we want to talk about next is, what is the solution to that, right? So really, if you really think about what could be the right fit for you, right, is a combination of having a good mobile lab, right, that you can test your application under, and then also using the right test automation tool, right? So keeping that in mind, I want to transition over to my co-host Nico, who can talk a little bit about what Perforce is doing with emerging cloud device provisioning and services.